Hello, kiddies. It's your old pal Sarah here from Boys and Ghouls Film Review. That's right, kiddies. Here with me now is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hello, kiddies.
Okay, just kidding, guys.
Oh, it's just past Halloween, so I thought we'd just keep the spirit going.
Yeah, and I was just watching Tales of the Crypt as per usual.
Good, clean, wholesome fun. Yeah.
Yes, and tonight we will be reviewing that ever so good classic that you guys all are familiar with, and you've probably heard me mention here now and then, Night of the Living Dead film franchise, or more or less, we're going to be doing a little bit of
We're going to talk about the
first one,
the original one.
But we'll dash between the several other ones to give you a little bit of a cliff
There were a
notes.
few sequels and other things and spin-offs and crap.
Yeah.
But this was the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, standalone stuff sort of thing that don't have any don't have a really big connection between each other.
Not necessarily. However,
but they do have a bit of a connection. Like the first one deals with the outbreak, and the second one is like in the middle, and the third one it was the whole world covered in zombies, and we don't know what else to do.
Whatever. Get a rocket and go somewhere else. Okay. Now, primarily there's going to be a review of Night of the Living Dead 1968, independent horror film, but we were going to touch on the other movies like Sarah mentioned. Now, this original movie was produced by Russell Strainer, and Carl Hardman. Now, Russell actually plays a role in this. I'll talk about it a bit later on. Directed by George A. Romero. His little boy was called George Romero too. Screenplay by George A. Romero and John Russo. Cinematographer George A. Romero. Edited by George A. Romero. Catering by piano play no. Now the budget. Now this is back in those days. $114,000, which is about $800,000 today, right? Now it made back then $30 million box office worldwide, making one of the highest grossing films for its period, even though when it was released a lot of critics didn't like it because it was too graphic for its time. Yeah. Yeah, interesting that, hey.
Yeah,
now,
well, it's not meant to be a children's film.
I wouldn't take the kiddies to see it now even a little bit, but but that's that's a lot of money. That when you look at return for dollar, it was. I just can't. I look and say I can't understand it. That's a bucket load of money. I'm not going to say for a crappy movie, but for a B movie. Okay, a B movie, a good B movie has really turned around, and I think it set the pace for future filmmakers, not just the George Romero franchise, Living Dead sort of stuff, but other guys making similar movies.
Yeah. So the other movies I'll touch on to after Night of the Living Dead is as followed. There's The Dawn of the Dead that was released in 1978, Day of the Dead that was done in 1985, Land of the Dead 2005, Diary of the Dead, which is more of a found footage movie, but pretty good.
It's okay.
That was done in 2007, and Survival of the Dead that was in 2009. Although the Diary of the Dead does a bit of a continuation in that one, obviously, with Survival of the Dead.
There was another one, Living Dead Go for a Whole Load of Barley, and they're on a road trip.
These days, in the past, they kind of remade the first two of the Night of the Living Dead franchise. Well, not two actually, all the three of them.
Well, the first one was that was a Tony Todd one, wasn't it?
Yeah, they did with Tony Todd, who
played
played
role,
Ben, obviously.
Yeah.
And
they did an animated version, didn't they?
Yeah, they did in 2021, just this year. Yeah. I just viewed it myself, and it's used as the same dialogue from the
Night of the Animated Dead, it's called, isn't it? Something like that?
And it's all in colour. Just no surprise.
Well, as one would like to think.
One would think. And
see the blood better that way.
And it was a bit more bloodier, which is not suitable for children.
Anyway,
and so they did do a few remakes here and there. As I point out, I don't know how George A. Romero felt about the remakes, to be honest. He probably didn't like them. He probably
didn't care.
He probably
He did his bit. Someone else got licensed or whatever, the approval to make the movie. Yeah,
true.
yeah, whatever.
I guess I think most of the time, he gets.
He might have made some money out of it.
True. I think he does get annoyed that they keep making the zombies go a bit more faster instead of sloppier, slower.
But who said they're supposed to be sloppy and shambling around and stuff? Oh, I can't walk very good. I'm a zombie. No. Yeah,
rigor mortis may have
rigor mortis. Yeah, I mentioned that like the other night. I mean, the point is, people think, oh, someone's died. They're in a coffin. All the joints stiffen up. It's like me getting out of bed in the morning. I've got osteoarthritis. I'm just like a zombie, and they're all stiff and they can't move very good because all the joints are dried up. But there's nothing to say that a new dead has dried out yet. So why can't they run?
Good point. Yeah. But I gotta admit, though, most of the time you don't really put any scientific facts to this. But the newer zombie movies, even if it's a person who's been long dead, like say a few years, they still seem to be running really fast.
Well, that's okay.
And they're like long dead, like as in they're decayed.
They've been having glucosamine every day.
They've lost every limb in their body that should be rigid and damaged.
Oh, legs fall off. Don't worry. Hop to it.
Ha ha ha. No, whatever.
It's not important, but
now I'll go through some of the actors for the first movie. Is that okay? Now, Dwayne Jones plays Ben. Now, there's a bit of controversy when the film first came out because the lead actor in this movie was an Afro-American. And a lot of people thought it was a bit strange having the lead actor in an American movie being Afro-American.
Yeah,
to be a white
interesting
guy.
thing, guys. I found this interesting documentary about how the African Americans started becoming more and more
prevalent
in horror in general. So I hope to check that out soon. And
when you look at other movies of the period, you had Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. That was back in the 60s, I think. What's the one there? Oh, another movie. Just can't remember. Sidney Poitier was in. I mean, they had Afro-American actors were starting to come into movies in a bigger way.
Yeah, I just mean that. Anyway, moving on. So I mean that I think when George was casting, I may mention say once or twice in the past about George A. Romero. He wasn't when he casted Ben for the role.
He took the best actor.
He took the best actor. It has nothing to do with ethnic group.
Yeah, exactly right. So, now, can I just go on with it? Actually, Dwayne was concerned though that his portrayal of Ben in this movie, considering it became so popular, that he would be recognised as Ben from The Night of the Living Dead and not as Dwayne Jones, the actor who's going to go do some more serious acting in other movies. Yeah. He did do some other movies, but he was concerned that he might have been, oh Lord, they were going to think I'm the guy in the Living Dead movie.
Yeah, another thing about this is in the last two other movies, I should mention, Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead, they both had casted as one of their protagonists as an African American actor, even though he probably didn't. Well, it probably was he wanted to make sure that the film had an ethnic groups in production, so it doesn't have to be just all white all the time or being Caucasian.
But some countries do still do that. If you did a Chinese movie, it's going to be all full of Chinese.
True.
End of story. You're not going to have, we'll put a token white guy in there or an Indian or something.
Look at the movie Crazies. The lead scientist in that movie.
Did Romero make it Crazies?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's right.
The lead character, who was a scientist, was an Afro-American too.
Yeah. Anyway, you're moving right along. I don't want to spend too much time on this movie. We've got the other ones to talk about. Now, Judith O'Dea, she plays Barbara. She's a young girl who goes to visit her
father's grave,
and yada yada yada. Sarah tells the story in a minute. And most of the time she's in a state of shock, but at the end of the movie she starts to get a bit more out of it and starts helping to fight for her life. I won't say what happens because Sarah's going to tell you about that.
She's useless.
Well, useless during most of the movie, but that was the way it was written. Now, I'll just jump to the end here. Russell Strainer, who was a producer, played her brother Johnny, who gets killed off at the beginning but becomes a zombie. So we see him later in the movie walking around going, "Oh,
You say he was one of the producers, was he?
Yeah, so producers and actually the cast helped the crew loading cameras and moving stuff around and whatever and building up things and carpentry work or whatever, setting the stage. Yeah.
I read somewhere that
everyone jumped in and did it.
I read the about the fact that cast and crew all helped had a hand in making the production.
Can I say word shit? There was a shitload of ad-libbing through this. They had a script, but they deviated a bit here and there, and they just ran with it, and it worked.
It could have explained why some of Ben's dialogue is saying, saying some interesting bits of dialogue where he tells the other guy who's in the basement, telling him, "You're downstairs, I'm upstairs, so I'm in charge up here, you're in charge of downstairs."
Well, that might be. I don't know. And actually, I'll go on to the production stuff later, but do you want to take over telling the story?
Yeah, sure.
We have a long way to go, and there's time to get there.
Okay, so I'll begin. So Barbara and her brother Johnny are going to the graveyard. They're laying down a wreath for their dear departed dad. Indeed.
Yeah, because their dad's been buried a long way from home for some stupid reason.
Yeah.
And Mum is too frail and weak to go there and visit the grave, so they're going to drop the
and
wreath
throughout
out there once a year.
Johnny's acting like an obnoxious prick. No offense to the producer. And he's saying, "They're coming to get you, Barbara."
That was a script.
I know, that was funny. And
teasing her, "Oh, you're scared of things, Barbara."
And then we see a man shambling, I guess that's the word.
Yeah, shambling, with that shuffling walk that the zombies do in the old those old voodoo movies.
And he comes in contact with Barbara, and he starts ripping at her. And then Johnny steps in, and he gets knocked out for the count.
He gets zombified.
I wonder if it was intended for the producer guy to be killed off that fast.
Yes, Johnny. He was written in there to die. He was a producer. He wasn't the actor. He was to say, "We need someone there. You can do that bit." Yeah.
Anyway, Barbara gets into a car. She drives a bit, crashes, and she's still chased by this very zombie throughout the scene. She soon arrives in a barn, the abandoned barn, and farmhouse, and she eventually meets Ben there, and Ben secures the place up tightly as much as he can.
As best he could. Yeah.
Yeah. Just so you guys know, throughout these movies, whenever they often do a special scene where the people find a sanctuary, like whether it's a house or a mall or even a mine or a land that's in order to secure against zombies, there's always going to be a break-in at some point in the production.
Because zombies are smarter than the guys they're attacking.
And all the time, as I think Ben mentions in this movie, that this barn is not their sanctuary, it's a trap, meaning they're trapped inside there and these creatures are coming in and trying to get them.
The creatures are free.
Yeah. Yeah. Soon enough, Ben and Barbara, they meet the other members of the cast who are living in the basement.
Well, hiding in the basement.
And they think that's the safest place.
They can't get us down here.
Yeah, of course one of them says there's no windows and there's no other door to the basement. So even if the zombies do come rat-tat-tatting at the front
and smash the door down, there's no way out.
There's no way out. So they decide to come up there some of them at a time. One of them was a little girl whom is very badly injured.
Actually, can I just stop you for a minute?
Yes.
That guy and the lady and the little girl, I believe are husband and wife and little girl in real life.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
That is interesting.
Well, I tell you, they got whoever they can get.
Yeah, the husband is a total asshole.
Well, he is. He plays. That's his role. He's a very nice man, probably.
Yeah, probably in reality.
In this, he's an asshole. No.
Yeah, and he's all about trying to get more control and kind of overstepping Ben a little bit here in this production. Ben is more the hero in this, or tries to be the hero.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he then suggests that they go to this petrol pump that's outside of the house to get the petrol and probably get the heck out of there.
I think I'll change that. I think Mr. Harry, Harry Cooper, it's his little guy. I don't think he was married to the lady.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but it was his daughter. Yeah. Carry on.
Okay, so they suggest. So Ben and a few of the characters, they head in outside. They try to get the pump to work, but unfortunately, there's some that it's not working really well.
Yeah, something went wrong, and then they end up setting fire to the truck, and zombies got Tom and Judy in it.
Yeah,
Tom
poor,
and Judy.
the poor couple. And Ben heads back inside with a little hardship with Harry.
While the zombies are having a barbecue.
Yeah.
Tom, oh, I've been at Tom's ear. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, downstairs, we find out that that Harry's daughter is now turned into a zombie.
Yeah, she got bitten earlier on, I think, by a zombie or something rather. It was sick. It's just getting worse and worse. And obviously, she is now passed.
Yeah, and she gobbles up her mum a bit, and then she eventually, well, she doesn't gobble up. She actually uses one of those a trowel and stabs her
it's a
to
mortar.
death.
Yeah, you're bricklaying a little trowel that you lay mortar with. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she.
I'm going to call my mummy.
Yeah, and then she attacks her daddy, and then while the others are trying their absolute hardest to keep the door from breaking apart, because now the zombies have gotten more and more zombies, they're going to try to break into the house. So there's no other way, but Ben realizes that the only way he can stay safe is go down
to the
cellar.
Well, the only place to go.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else left. And he had to lock himself in.
On the news, they mentioned Parsees going around shooting these dead guys, and in order to try to save
cleanse the area. How's that? That's a good idea.
And later the next morning, they've been in the area, they're shooting the dead people, and Ben goes up to the first floor, and he looks out the window, and then one of the guys taking his gun
there's
shoots,
a zombie and goes bang.
Yeah, shoots Ben right in the forehead.
What a great shot!
And of course, the sheriff says, "Okay, one more for the bonfire." And we watch in sort of news flash photographs.
They were taking photographs, but in news films, so they transferred that sort of style of filming, didn't they?
Yeah, and we watch Ben being placed on the bonfire and being burnt with a number of other real zombies. The end.
Okay. There you go. Now, I'm going to go quickly through some production stuff, then you can talk about your other movies. Production. There you go, finished. No, it was done pretty much the first jump into making a movie. Romero and, what's his name, Russo, was it? Russo were making commercials and different things. They thought, we want to have a break into getting into the real movie world. And this is their first, at least Romero's film debut was doing a feature movie. So there you go.
Brilliant.
And they decided to do a horror. And it was originally intended to be a comedy horror, but I think it took on its own life and became a horror.
I think that's the interesting thing about movies like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you think you start off hoping to make a horror comedy, and then you feel like the horror outweighs the comedy, if there was any comedy at all.
It was still a bit tongue-in-cheek in some parts of it, but it became more horrific and slasher types, like the current movies have become.
I think that when Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead came out, there was a little bit of humour in it. I'm not saying it's still horror at heart.
But a little bit of humour thrown to light in some areas, but mostly. Anyway, going through multiple different drafts into writing, Romero's final script primarily drew on the novel I Am Legend by Richard Matheson.
Yeah.
So he used that. And like I said, it went through many morphings and whatever, and they finally came out with the Night of the Living Dead, and I think it was Night of the Flesh Eaters or something or other, but they changed the name.
I'm kind of glad they called it Night of the Living Dead. Sounds a bit better.
Yeah, but I think there's a similar name movie.
Yeah, the interesting thing throughout this movies, they never use the term zombie ever. Not ever.
No.
Trust me. I mean, they called them in this one ghouls or something like that. And
you refer them as ghouls.
Another one another one they called them rotters, and I don't know what.
They do rot and smell
and stuff like that. And there's some other ones I can't recall, but that's what they keep doing throughout these movies. They don't mention the word zombies, even though they are zombies.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to sort of dwell too much on this because you want to get into all the other stuff. Other official film adaptations were The Last Man on Earth, the early one with the my hero Vincent Price in it. There was The Amigo Man with Charlton Heston in it. I Am Legend with Will Smith. So the same sort of thing. Yeah, groovy. So a good book to draw from. I haven't read the book.
Well, I've read the book. It's pretty interesting.
Pretty groovy. Okay. Blah 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 blah. Nothing. The scenes were filmed near Evans City, Pennsylvania.
That makes sense. Isn't Pennsylvania where he lives? I mean, George A. Romero, I think was.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did, didn't we? Because we did the creep show thing, wasn't that? And didn't he use his house for the party? That was yeah.
I mean, I think it mentions that that. Well, that does explain a lot. I mean, when you look at Night of the Living Dead, it was like a student film when you think about this production. When you think about
this one,
yeah,
well, say a student's film, but it was rough and ready because of limited budget. They said we couldn't. They knew they couldn't do a big major production job like the studios. So they took all the acting guys and the crew to a place, and they brought the horror there and built the horror around the area.
I guess I could call it more of an independent one when you think about it.
So they, instead of going into a sound studio and building stuff up, what they did is they found an old house which they had access to. They're going to bulldoze it, a derelict house. They used that house. When they're at the cemetery, they're allowed to film there, and I think it was a chapel there or something. That was being decommissioned, was going to be destroyed anyway, so they're allowed to film around there because it wasn't really part of the cemetery's stuff anymore. But actually, I think Mr. Russo, got some fundraising for him to help rebuild the chapel.
That's nice. Anyway, should I mention the other zombie movies?
And just about finished. You mentioned Romero doing other things. Season of the Witch, The Crazies, Martin, Creepshow, The Dark Half. He did a lot of good groovy things apart from just the Night of the Living Dead stuff.
Yeah, he was a very brilliant man.
I will leave it with you. Because we got a long way to go. It's stuff like a skip. But main thing is the critics didn't like the premiere.
Go figure.
Of course, they didn't have the ratings in place. The rating commission, whatever it's called.
This was before the ratings.
That started about a month or so after the movie was released. So they had 7 little kiddies going to it because they used to watching the tamer horror movies. And this came along there and scared the crap out of them. But on the whole, over the years, it has got so much acclaim for being one of the best movies of its genre. It's hit so many top 100 lists and other things there, and
I bet kids were screaming when they watched this movie.
So it did very, very well for what it was. Yeah. It's for a limited budget. Yeah. Anyway, do you want to start talking about the other things?
Yeah, another thing I should mention, Tom Cevini, he helped with the makeup side and was a bit of an actor in, say, one or two of George A. Romero's work. And let me see, he actually said in an interview once, I asked him about filmmaking, and he said that when he was doing work on The Night of the Living Dead, he suggests doing a point of view shot with the zombies and all that stuff.
From the zombies' eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess George A. Romero had a different idea of how he wanted the story to roll.
Oh yeah, it depends. I mean, see, the thing is, you can't do too much POV shots. You can do some.
Yes.
But if you have through the zombies' eyes and people looking straight at the camera all the time, it gets a bit off-putting.
I think I probably mentioned this in the past, guys.
So POVs can work for a bit here and there, but I wouldn't dwell on it too much because sometimes it'll work and enhance the movie, and sometimes it'll detract from it. Yeah.
Tom Scarecrow is probably a very big influence.
Brilliant man. Yeah. He does very good work.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And I like the fact he doesn't just do the makeup. He also
does some stunts as well.
He does a bit of stunts. He did. In Dawn of the Dead, he actually did a falling stunt. Yeah,
over a balcony onto a
set of cushions.
A set of cushions and mattresses and boxes. Oh yeah.
Of course, he probably hurt his back in say 2 or 4 takes.
Yeah. Hey, well, you don't. If you don't have a lot of money to get stunt people and different things. You got to do it yourself, and well, that's just the way it goes.
Okay, so I'll start the next movie.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, Dawn.
That sort of is in the middle, when I think about this next part, because it deals with the zombies are running around. Everyone is trying their absolute hardest to hunt them down and kill them, but somehow the zombie war is kind of these zombies are winning.
Yeah, of course. The zombies got to win sometimes.
Yeah,
Can't just
so
kill them all off all the time.
yeah, and so a group of survivors, they take a helicopter and they head towards an abandoned shopping mall, and they waited out some of their time at the mall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they shopping?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is what I meant when I said that the cage becomes now it becomes more of a gilded cage. Isn't that right? I think that's what the lead.
What are you trying to allude to here?
I just mean that it's one of those golden cages.
It's a very nice place.
It's a nice place.
Oh, yeah. Gilded
I
cage,
think that it was what one of the lead protagonists, who's a lady in this one, said this cage is very pretty and all that, but you're going to be...
You get all the pretty shops and everything. However, it's a good place to die. Okay, right, I'm with you.
Yeah. And soon enough, it gets raided by a group of, rather hostile people. They start breaking into the place, stealing things, and then by the time... soon enough, more of those zombies start coming in, and of course these misfits start pelting them with pies, knocking them over, kicking their butts.
Cream pies or custard pies.
That was the humour in it, I guess.
And they go,
I think that's the humour that George missed out on doing in The Night of the Living Dead.
It was quite funny, but but it wasn't done as a comedy, but it was that was a lighter part of the movie. Yeah.
And our two remaining heroes, they end up heading back to the helicopter, and they only have this much fuel. Not too much.
A little bit. See, just hold a hand up, going a little bit.
So they float off to an unknown future. We never know what happens to them.
They fell out of the sky, like in Dante's Peak. No?
Moving on to the next story, Day of the Dead, which deals with the whole world is covered in zombies. There's no survivors of any kind, and the only ones
Who made the movie then?
Yeah, true. The remaining ones live in a military type base underground.
Oh, that one, yeah.
In a mine, and they successfully try to find a cure.
Is that the one where they got the doctor who's training up that zombie to humanize him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, in this movie and another movie, I think I recall, George A. Romero got the idea to make them mad scientists and referred to as mad scientists.
He was mad. He was strange. Yeah.
And in this one, people were losing their minds, meaning that the whole world is crumbling around them, and they're slowly developing crazy in their own ways. Not crazy, but some people want to create a different world. While two of our heroes in that one wanted to take off in the plane and find an island and hopefully weed out this whole zombie outbreak thing.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
And of course the other people want to evacuate and forget about the scientific mosh and begin again. But the big problem is, one of the scientists said, the mad scientist guy, says, where would you go? You'll still be hunted by these zombies. You technically, you'll be outmatched, and all that stuff. You no way, no how.
Okay.
But eventually, the army guys, they ganged against the scientists and the remaining good guys, and told them that they're gonna kill them and head off on the helicopter.
Whee!
But luckily, our heroes were able to outmatch them, and the zombies soon coming into their military compound, whatever, and killed them. And it was very gross because, according to George A. Romero, he says that they had this meat in the fridge, and their fridge was broken. And throughout the zombie scene, the meat was kind of very foul.
It would be gets off after a few days at room temperature, and the flies.
They're using real meat, not plastic or stuff like that.
They did that in the first movie too. They actually did. One of the people on the set was a butcher.
Yeah.
And he bought some stuff from the butcher shop to spread around the place.
Well, it does explain a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
real guts out of a cow thrown around the.
yuck.
Yeah,
Anyway, our remaining heroes, they took the helicopter and probably head off to paradise, which I think they may have headed off to paradise. At the end, it was like a twist ending where they head to the helicopter and our lead hero, whose name's Sarah, nearly gets grabbed by one of the zombies, but then we flash to a dream she's having. She's just lying on the beach and her friends are just fishing and enjoying the sun, and she's just writing her... crossing off a day on a made-up calendar.
So she got away.
Yeah,
probably,
supposedly.
Yeah. Apparently. Maybe, we think.
Anyway, the next two ones, we watched The Land of the Dead and Survival of the Dead to catch up on what's known we know about George A. Romero's previous work.
George A.
Yeah, the next one deals with a bigger cage. In this case, it's a very wealthy man who's taken over a part of an area. I don't know where, because to be honest, there's
that one in Set City, the big skyscraper.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this one, he's a wealthy dictator, if you will.
Yeah, a rich guy who thinks his shit don't stink, as it.
Yeah. And he gets these men to go out of their way to go outside the barrier to get, food, other stuff.
Yeah, scavenge. Yeah, get all the non-perishables and alcohol and anything else they can find they can use inside the barricade.
Yeah, Riley, who's a good guy in this, he doesn't like the life living there. He wants to go off and leave, just like all the other characters before him, wanting to leave and find a better paradise.
Yeah, away from the rich guys, away from the zombies.
Away from this cage he's in. Because as I said before, throughout these movies, they deal with cages where you think the people are on your side, but in reality, they're not as bad. They're as bad as the zombies.
Exactly.
Not being politically or
and
anything
stop
like
picking
that.
on the zombies. They're nice guys.
Yeah, in this one, somehow one of the zombies revolves his brethren, and they attack the city.
Aha.
And he becomes a little bit self-aware, isn't that right?
Yes, that's right. The mechanic guy or the garage. Yeah.
It's an Afro-American zombie in this one, and he fights back.
Yeah, he becomes the leader of the zombies.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a role reversal. Who are actually the bad guys and who are really the good guys?
Yeah.
You think, well, the zombies are being picked on by the living guys as well as the other way around.
Yeah, in this one, it feels like that zombie felt like he was in the right because he notices his brethren being hanged up and used as target practice.
Yeah, and that's the stuff.
And
there was even
there was even a scene where we saw it in a private nightclub, whatever, where they had these zombies placed in displays, and they're either shot by pellet guns or
no real guns,
or in arenas like boxing matches.
They had paintball guns, and they had real guns, and they had a couple of girls. Was it good? No, two zombies fighting each other in an arena, and they threw a girl in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a living girl.
Yeah,
so and she had to fight her way out.
You could see that this world in this land is not the...
Life was cheap, but so was death.
Yeah. Anyway, eventually, our heroes fought the bad guys, and they win, and they decide to go off to Canada.
And our good guy, the living guy, sees the zombie leader leading his people away, and he decides not to shoot him because he's doing exactly the same thing that he is. Trying to survive.
Anyway.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, the next one is Diary of the Dead.
Which one's that one?
That was the found footage one. And that one's a bunch of students, film students. I like to think this is where George A. Romero got his influences from his time at film school, maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah, and he and some film students, they are doing a film, a scary movie or something, and they hear of an outbreak and they try to head home as quickly as possible to their relatives, even though they're cut off contact with them at some points throughout the movie. They meet some other refugees who are also have organized an army of sorts and have collected bits and pieces to make sure that they survive all right. And
that's right. They were collecting food and stuff, and
gasoline, whatever.
Whatever they can scrounge, because obviously got to survive.
Yeah, and one of our characters says they won't leave until they're given weapons and some gasoline and maybe some supplies, just in case they get hungry. Yeah, and they're all cool for it, and they think, yeah, sure, we'll give you the supplies after a little bit of negotiation.
See, people are nice.
Yeah, they also meet some other army guys who were not so nice ones.
No, they're the renegade type.
Yeah, the ones who just take what they want, don't give a rat about you.
Yeah, don't care about anybody else except themselves. That often shows up in movies and stories and TV programs.
It's narrated by one of our heroes who continues to say they don't know who's worse at, the humans or the zombies.
Yeah.
This is probably the message that George is trying to convey throughout the movies.
Zombies are nice guys. They're just not their fault they're dead.
Yeah, and humans can turn on one another. That's the big message.
Well, yeah. The one in the previous movie, the one of the people in the bunker, that guy who was in charge, he was turning on everybody because they disagree with him.
Yeah, see, that's probably the message in this movie, where each person has a set of different opinions and they fight against the other person with their own different opinions.
Exactly. Instead of sticking together, they're being torn apart.
Yeah.
Before the zombies get them, they're already torn apart.
Yeah, anyway, I guess it's the message that George is trying to go for.
Good old George, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so eventually the remaining people, they head inside their escape room, that's sort of one of those CCTV ones, and they lock the door, and that's like what I said before about being locked in a sanctuary again.
Yeah, it becomes a prison. You can't get out.
Anyway, the final scene in that movie was where a bunch of locals were shooting dead people that were tied to trees, and this is what I meant by they're shooting like they were targets, like
isn't it?
animals.
That's very nice.
And it's not nice. And the lady says, "Are we worth saving? You tell me." Big question. Don't
Exactly.
know. Anyway, the final one is Survival of the Dead, which is sort of linked to the Diary of the Dead because we see a glimmer of one of the evil army soldiers who robs these poor students of their belongings. Anyway,
Carry on.
And these guys go to an island inhabited with a mixture of people who want to kill the zombies and another one just wants to maintain the zombies.
I'll give you a quick overview here. It's a little island. I can't remember what it's called. They call it Plum Isle or something rather. And it's mainly been settled by two families. I can't remember the names at the moment. And there's a bit of a feud between them anyway. And the zombie bit comes along. One family wants to purge the island of any dead people running around, which is a good idea. And the other guy says, no, we want to keep our folk with as long as we can, and we're going to try and find a way to keep them and retrain them so they don't eat us.
Yeah.
And that's where the bit of a problem started, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the group of soldiers and a boy they found with goes with them. They take a boat of sorts.
A ferry.
A ferry boat. And they head to the island along with one of the vanished or... Is it banished?
Yeah, banished, the banished leader of one of the families, because he was given a chance to get off the island or be executed by the other family.
So...
He was the guy who wanted to kill the guys.
Yeah, so they head over there, and he tells them the full story about how these guys, one half wants to, to get rid of the zombies, the other one doesn't want to get rid of the zombies. And it doesn't seem like a very good combination.
Well, it's not very good for the zombies.
Because the zombies are chained up, they're redoing the things that they used to do over and over, like a recording device.
Yeah, poor zombies.
And it's not really good for them, and it's not good for the community.
No, poor guys.
They're chained up like dogs, technically. Is that
like Fido.
Yeah.
That's a good movie. No.
Yeah, anyway, we then meet the other guy, those nasty guys, and they think that they're in the right, and they think by feeding them a different set of meat will make them...
Or trying to make the meat another flesh, or whatever, apart from human beings. They're trying to make them eat a horse.
They try to get them to eat pigs or...
Horse or something
horse
or
or whatever.
I like bacon.
But
No,
most of the time, they don't even look at them. They just continue looking over the horizon, wishing for a bunch of...
That 1,000-meter stare they get in their eyes. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah. Anyway, it feels horrible just
Poor little people.
how they're treated.
Poor Diddums.
Yeah. Eventually, one of the members of the army guys that gets infected. He kind of got... He didn't get bitten or anything. He just accidentally got one of the fingers off a zombie, and it's
when he's being attacked.
And some of the blood dripped down to his throat.
So it was a very slow-acting virus, but it was still getting in there. Yeah.
And he soon asked one of the lady army soldier girl to shoot him
Before he turned. Lovely.
and she gets abducted by these weird
One of those families. Yeah.
And it takes our last remaining soldier guy and the guy who lives on the island and the boy. His name's just a boy. He's boy in the credits. Don't ask me.
They didn't have a name, did he?
No, he didn't. They never gave him a name.
Hey, you come here. Yeah, I don't think he had a name. Interesting.
Yeah, they never asked. Oh well.
What is your name, son? My name is blah, 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 blah. Oh,
Anyway.
hello, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, eventually we get a bit of a gunfight between the two families and stuff. A few men get
bit like the old Ned Kelly bit. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, of course, both men each got shot in a weird way.
And guess what?
They both still live, but at the same time they revived as zombies.
They came back as zombies and they continued the feud as zombies. Isn't that cute?
Yeah, and the army soldier ponders whether or not a zombie could ever eat something other than human flesh.
McDonald's?
And
Hungry Jack's? Pizza Hut?
don't make me hungry, Mike.
Taco Bell?
Yeah, so that's all the George A. Romero zombies movies I've found so far. I think
There's
that's
probably
about...
there might be some ones that have been... People have made spin-offs.
Yeah, they're like the Return of the Living Dead ones, which I thought were
Yeah.
George, but actually
they're
it
a
was
different
not.
group. Yeah, I think, yeah.
And the same with some other the remakes of like the Tony Todd one, which is not really George's
Well, it's like
one.
Creepshow of Stephen King. The first two Creepshows were Stephen King's. The third movie wasn't any Stephen King stories at all. They just used the same name, made another anthology up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same I could say for the new version of Dawn of the Dead, which did this same more story, well, not similar more story, just a little bit, but added a little bit of new characters and a little bit more of an interesting backstory.
Yeah, there you go then. Yeah.
And they made 2 Days of the Dead. I don't.
What day was that?
What?
What day was that?
Don't know.
Saturday?
Funny. But I do like the second one. I think the second one they made, where it deals with a woman who confronts a horrible patient of hers who tries to sexually assault her.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah,
he was a weirdo, that guy. Yeah, remember that one.
Yeah.
He had his name carved in his arm and everything.
Her name, you mean?
Yeah, yes, man. Yeah, Judy or whatever, Ran or whatever her name was.
Zoe.
Zoe, yeah, something like that. Yeah. Fred.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad version, and I don't know if George really would appreciate the remakes. I don't know.
Look, I don't know. Look, I think George, even George's movies changed a little bit.
Yeah, because I read somewhere George A. Romero didn't appreciate what was that Zombie Wars movie?
World War Z.
Yeah, World War Z movie. He didn't really like it. I don't know why.
Well, maybe he didn't want like that style of movie for zombies. I don't know. I liked it.
I don't know how he feels about Resident Evil or any other.
I like Resident Evil. Mila Jovovich is my action hero. She does it good. Yeah,
I certainly like how Tom Savini has developed the makeup over the years.
Yeah.
It started
he needs makeup now. He's getting a bit old rangy looking. Yeah.
Well, he started off with something simple, with the black and white, and then he started developing it more and more gruesome and interesting.
Well, in the first movie, the Night of the Living Dead, they used just a bit of white makeup. Then they halfway through the film they started using wax and stuff,
Yeah.
putting the fact they've made it look like the scabs and the faces decaying a bit and stuff. Yeah, it morphed.
Yeah, he
as
mentioned
needed
something
it.
about using tissue paper to create the scabs.
Yeah,
and
you
stuff,
do that
and
sometimes.
scars.
Yeah. You do it now. You use a bit of Vaseline and some tissue paper and a bit of food coloring. Looks like a scab. Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, but you also make up a thick blood sort of thing as well. I've got some recipes for blood in my and you make it really thick when you put some like onion flakes in it, and it looks all scabby and horrible.
Yeah.
And
I think he's developed a good sense of stuff, and I wish that type of thing comes back in filmmaking more than ever.
Honestly, I agree, because the point is that, and I'm not knocking new filmmakers and new techniques, but the early guys got through on a shoestring budget, and they did a good movie. Well, in this case, Night of the Living Dead and other movies such as this, they got through. They relied more on the acting, the story, and the cinematographer's technique and the directors and whatever. They relied on that. Nowadays, it seems how much killing, how much special effects, how much this, and bugger the story. I'm sorry. You need a good storyline in the movie still, and they just don't seem to be getting the idea. You don't need a backstory on everybody, but you need a bit of a storyline in there to actually make it, to draw you in. That's the best way to put it. If you don't have any people or characters you can identify with, or a situation you can identify with, it's just like a bit of voyeurism. Oh, I'm watching some stuff going on. But if you get drawn into the movie, a totally distant concept. You say, shit, I'd hate to be there.
No matter how much CGI has developed, I still think it doesn't look real.
CGI is good, but you can't rely on CGI to make a good movie. You need the good storyline. You need the good script writers. You need the good actors. You need a good director. You can't just rely on your CGI and your body count. I mean, it's good to have them, don't get me wrong, but you have to get the balance right. I mean, I taught Sarah about getting the balance right a lot. If you get a good balance, everything is working, that's when you got a good movie. And that's where Night of the Living Dead, even on a limited budget, they got the balance right. It was supposed to be comedy horror. It morphed more into a horror than a comedy. The acting's good. The sets are good. Even though it's basic stuff, it all worked. It was all believable. And that's what the magic is. Nowadays they do the same sort of thing there. How much gore, how much dead bodies we have, how much this, how many jump scares can we have? How about a story?
Yeah.
A story. Remember once upon a time there was 3 bears. Story.
Anyway, let's check out the reviews on the first Night of the Living Dead movie.
Well, I'm not going to go through lots and lots of reviews because there's lots and lots of things there. But I will say one thing.
What's that?
When it was first started, the reviewers didn't like it because it was a new style.
Ah, yes.
You see, it went from warm and fluffy horror movies to, let's say the verse of the slasher films almost. Blood and guts and gore and and they didn't know how to take it. So, oh no, it's a shock to our senses, and it shouldn't be that kiddies should not be allowed to see this. And that's where the problem was. People didn't say, "Oh, I won't let my kids go see it." The kids, it was shown in the daytime at matinees, which was like normal for these sorts of things back in those days.
I see.
Not after 8 at night or a midnight show. No, doing that matinees. And kids were just going there. I got my little coin. I'll go in there and I'm going to see this horror movie, a nice, friendly horror movie. Not anyway. They shot the crap out of it. Now I'm just going to get back to where my reviews are. But most of them are saying really great, but in roundabout ways.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I got too much. There's controversies there. Well, here's a few things. The premiere controversy. It was shown as a Saturday afternoon matinee, which means early afternoon.
Okay.
As a typical horror film at that time would have been done. And attracted an audience consisting of pre-teens and adolescents, which means single digits and teenagers.
Ooh.
And it wasn't aimed at that target market.
You mean single digits,
8,
like
9,
9,
10,
10?
And there's one. I'll read this part here. The kids in the audience were stunned. there was almost complete silence. The movie had stopped being delightfully scary about halfway through and had become unexpectedly terrifying.
Wow.
There was a little girl across the aisle from me, maybe 9 years old, who was sitting very still in the seat and crying. It's hard to remember what sort of effect this movie might have had on you when you were 6 or 7.
Oh, boy.
Not suitable for kiddies.
Well, it's a shame they didn't have a rating back then.
Well, no, the ratings came in about a month or two later. Yeah. Now, critical reception. I'm not going to go through all of them. They said most of them said really, really great, fantastic, well done, but most of them are retrospective. They didn't do these. Aren't these reviewers weren't reviewed when the premiere was done.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so everyone's saying this is great. It's fair. The 12th scariest movie of all time, and the 100th best movie list. Blah blah. All that sort of.
No ones that took place back then.
I don't think the reviewers actually bothered to review it.
Why not?
But since then, everyone who's reviewed it thinks it's great, and it's in the top 100 lists of different people. And New York Times placed on their best 1,000 movies ever list. Empire magazine has it in the list of 500 greatest movies of all time. Rolling Stone magazine, top 100 Maverick movies in the past 100 years. Reader's Digest has it the 12th scariest movie of all time. Everyone loves it. Even Rotten Tomatoes got a 96% on it.
That's cool.
I thought it was great. The Library of Congress, it's been added to the National Film Registry because of its historically or cultural and aesthetically significant movie. So, American Film Institute, 100 Thrills list, most heart-pounding movies, zombies, Heroes and Villains, another 100. Chicago Film Critics Association, the 5th scariest movie of all times. Everyone loved it because everyone, I don't care what they say unless you're a real pussy, you want to feel that adrenaline surge and say, ooh, that was scary. Ooh. Yeah, but some people say, oh no, it's not very nice. But that's only a minority. A lot of us like to feel that surge. They want the tingle up their spine. They want to be scared and say, whoa, feel that. That was great. And the adrenaline surge. Yeah, whatever. And everyone liked it. Not on the day, though. Because the critics didn't give a crap about it because, it wasn't a major movie. It was a B movie. And they didn't care about it. But everyone since loves it. And I'm pleased to say, for those of you young folk who may not have ever seen it before, it's on eBay and Amazon. There's plenty available. You can rent it, you can buy it.
Bear in mind, guys, there's like several different renderings, or not different versions of
it's a 1968 version, which we...
So, don't confuse it with the 2021 or the 2090.
And 1990? Yeah, whatever.
And the one that was done in 1990.
By the way, if you're looking at the 1968, be careful. There might be some VHS copies out there. Or beat-up ones. Yeah. Remember, get a DVD or a Blu-ray. Blu-ray probably better. You get nice quality. But,
and remember, if you're going to look up the other two I mentioned, Dawn of the Dead, or the original Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead, be sure to check the dates on the ones in order.
Get onto your IMDb, Wikipedia, whatever on your computer there and have a look and just get your things right.
Because as I said before, guys, many remakes, and you don't want to be confused or end up...
You want to get the good one. You don't want to get a fake. No.
You don't want to get a wrong one and find out you've been cheated.
Exactly. Now, George A. Romero, at this point in time, back in the 60s, I think was a game changer.
Really?
Well, it changed it. No one expected this sort of thing.
Yes.
And that shocked too many people. And they said, oh, this is good. And that stimulated the other filmmakers to do the same. Much the same as Forbidden Planet. I can't remember who did Forbidden Planet. That's one of my favourite sci-fis. And that was one of the earlier ones that went more for trying to make it look real instead of looking like some cheesy cardboard cutouts. And they try to make it real. And that, to me, that still holds its own today after, 60, 70 years. It's probably 60 years, and it's a great movie. So this one's a great movie too. This one's saying it. Some guys somewhere along the line, a producer, director, combination of both, get an idea and it's new and innovative, and that's the game changer. That all of a sudden the paradigms have changed.
Yeah, well, as I said before, guys, I mean, in the past, George, this is the first, when he started Night of the Living Dead, this was the first zombie movies that were introduced. I mean, I know you mentioned the Last Man on Earth, Mike. I remember that.
Yeah.
This is the first time that they introduced the possibility of zombies coming back to life and all that stuff.
Yeah. See, with the Last Man on Earth, I still don't know whether those people he was killing off were zombies or people who had got some sort of disease which made them half alive, half dead. It wasn't totally clear whether they actually died or not.
Yeah.
They just morphed into a different state of existence. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they say it's a vampire story.
Oh, yeah, the blood. And then they use that to survive. But,
and they only come out at night, which kind of
they
covers
didn't
that
like the light. They could come out in the daytime, but didn't like the light.
Which makes me think of warlocks more than anything else.
Morlocks, yeah.
Morlocks, sorry.
A time machine.
Well,
that used to be a name of my band years ago, folks.
Yeah, anyway, as I was saying, whenever I think about the zombie movie, I mean, when I was doing some research not too long ago, I found out that before George A. Romero's versions of Night of the Living Dead came out, before that, their only interpretation of zombies is the whole voodoo stuff like that. The deal with
the zombies from
like that.
the Haiti and different those sort of places. Yeah.
Those
the old zombie movies. Yeah, like I Walk with a Zombie and and that sort of White Zombie and that sort of movies. Yeah,
the old interpretation on it, which was before how George decided to
change contemporize it. That's a good word. It's contemporize it. I like that. Yeah. I'll use that again.
So he kind of changed the whole zombie aspect, and made a new generation of filmmakers starting to think, a zombie outbreak causing a lot of people getting sick.
And then they implied on news broadcasts might have had something to do with a satellite coming back from outer space and some radiation on it got into our atmosphere and started
and infect everyone.
The zombie holocaust. Now, it's quite funny because we had something like that in. We watched The Dance of the Dead the other night, and they had something like a nuclear plant, was it, in the town? And that was spewing out some sort of gas into the atmosphere, and that was getting into the ground and reactivating the dead people and that. So, it's always a chemical or something. See, pollution is not a good thing.
Yes.
We have to look over global warming and all the other good groovy things.
Although other movies that deal with zombie movies, they don't usually have an explanation of why they're revived.
We don't really need it. Does a zombie really need to have a bit of a profile put in there, or just exist?
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I think that another good example is that when they did Evil Dead, there was an explanation for that where it had something to do with the economical book.
Necromonicon.
Revived the dead and turned everyone into zombies.
That is a good book not to have on your reading list, folks. The Necromonicon. Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're going ahead of ourselves, so I think we should finish up soon because So, that's about it for us, guys.
Are we going to give it a rating?
Yeah, we should give it a rating.
It does help. 10.
So I'm going to give this 10.5.
10.5 out of 10 isn't bad.
That's for the whole franchise.
Well, actually, I haven't. I must admit, I can't remember every movie in the franchise. I've watched so many movies. The movies I have seen have all been quite good. Well done. Even the ones which George didn't actually physically do himself. So, but I will do a split rating here. I will give this first movie, 1968, I'll give it definite 10.
Okay, definite 10 for
but
me.
Across the franchise, I'm going to give the over 9 because the ones which George didn't do and didn't write, in some cases, could have been a tad better. Yeah, I mean, it's a guy's imagination. You can, it's the man's magic. His his inspiration. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll
Well-
give 9 for the franchise, but 10 for that movie. Yeah.
I'm going to give it 10, 10 and a half out of 10 for the whole franchise because George did have a hand in all of their creations, either as the director, the producer, or just the scriptwriter. You know, making sure he gets a little bit of control over his major projects.
But this one here, he did everything.
Yeah, although
He did
it
everything.
is a shame he couldn't make a continuation, but you can't do anything about when you killed your protagonists off or making them disappear off the
But like I said,
in
this
the
one
end.
here, he did produce. Oh, he didn't produce it, but he directed it, wrote it, did the filming, did the editing. He did everything, so he knew what he wanted.
Yeah, so he wanted control over his
And
product.
he did good. Yeah.
And he did okay for himself.
I don't know if he had that much control in the other movies. That's all.
I think he did.
All that?
Yeah.
All that?
Yeah, he did.
Are you sure? I must check.
Well, anyway, I like to think he had control, and
Well,
I think he
made creative control.
Yeah, I think he had made a name for himself, so the studios trusted him. And
trust him.
and his skills, which is what matters in this productions.
But the first one made it for me. See, I like the old black and white. I love old movies. I love new movies too. I'm not an idiot, but some of these old movies, like I said, they started something new.
I just like
imagination.
I just like the similarities each one has. Like the first one started with a house, very small confinement. You could probably not
a nice little prison.
But when you go, then the next is a mall, which has got everything you could possibly need, but at the same time, it's still a bit of a prison.
Still a prison.
And the next one is a military compound
bunker,
underneath
whatever,
ground,
or tunnel or whatever,
which is like a prison, and you don't. There's no wall, no
But he
windows
can't
to get out.
You're surrounded by zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let me see
The island.
the island.
There's
where,
another one. It's surrounded by water.
Yeah. Well, no, that was the land of the dead, obviously.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That deals with a very big place, but at the same time still the prison because you're prisoned by some other person's ideology.
Yeah, you're imprisoned by that guy, that control freak in that building, and had a fence around it, and all the zombies are outside the fence line.
And the zombies are
get in.
mistreating.
Yeah.
Anyway, and the last one.
The island.
Oh, not the island one. The found footage one. It has more. It does explain a little bit more about the symbolism in the story a little bit more, which kind of fits in with the whole who
did what to whom.
whom do what to whom, and who to trust, who not to trust, all that stuff.
I don't trust you.
Yeah. Yeah, funny. And finally, the survival of the dead I mentioned that deals with just an island and trying to escape from different people's perspective on who's right and who's wrong.
Aha. There you go then. Hey, folks.
Yeah. Well, that's what I like about this.
Okay.
I mean, George had
George is talented.
has creative ideas, and I imagine sometimes his ideas got rejected by producers telling him, "No, we don't want this way. We want to do it this way."
Well, actually, just going before we go, when he was trying to release the movie, trying to find a distributor, he had trouble getting a distributor. Because they didn't like it. It was too horrific, too bloodthirsty, whatever. And some said, well, we'll consider if you reshoot these couple of scenes here and make it a bit softer. And they said that we don't want a happy ending. We want people to die in this movie. It's very much.
Yeah.
So they stuck their guns until they got a distributor who was prepared to take it on. Yeah, they did. They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't sell
I
out.
remember when they did Day of the Dead. He was going for a different direction, but then I guess someone whispered in his ear to do it differently. So.
Well, the point is sometimes you got to, but if you can stay true to yourself and your vision or whatever, yes.
Stay in your ground.
Stand your ground if you can find. Otherwise, the problem is if you stand it too much, no one's going to see a movie.
Good point.
That's the problem.
Anyway, that's about it for us tonight. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review and
I enjoyed it.
And may watch these movies if you can. Be sure to watch them in order.
I was going to say, do them in order. I mean, when I would do something like a franchise, I'll get the movies, I'll watch the first one, second one, in the order they're made to be. Like, Star Wars is a bit different because they made the number 4 first, but if I watched them now, I'd actually watch the episode 1, the real one, first, not the one that was made first. Yeah, so you're doing the right order they're intended to be in.
Yeah, that's about it for us, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast.
I had a ball.
And I hope I see you guys next time. Bye for now.
Ta-da. Bye.